Hello and welcome to Extraordinary Women TV. I'm your host, Shannon Skinner, and my guest is Janet Auty-Carlisle, who's a life coach, a woman dedicated to helping women in transition. So if you are a woman in transition, you're going to want to hear what Janet has to say today. Later in the segment, before we take a break, I'll have my regular Good to Know Minute when I ask my guests for their top success tip. You'll hear Janet's. Janet Auty-Carlisle, hello.
Hi, Shannon. Thanks for letting me be here today.
Well, it's fantastic having you here today. Now, you are dedicated to helping women in transition. Now, why is this important to you? And then let's maybe talk about what is it to be a woman in transition?
Great question. It's important to me because I'm that person who always goes for the underdog. And women make up more of the population in the world than men do. And we get to a certain age and we lose ourselves, really. And so we become women in transition. When we become empty nesters, we lose ourselves. And that's my passion, find yourself again.
By losing ourselves, do you mean that we're putting our identity and our self-worth into others?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, it's a very common... I really believe we're taught, we're socialized to do that as young girls. And it's very difficult to step away from that when your family grows up and you're left wondering what you're going to do with yourself.
So is that about, you know, we're taught to take care of others first, put other people's needs first?
Yeah.
Before you?
Very much so.
Right.
And the difficulty with that, and I like to use the metaphor of an airplane. When you board an airplane, the stewardesses will always say to you, if the airplane goes down, put your oxygen mask on first, because you have to take care of yourself first.
Sure.
Otherwise, you're no help to the people that are with you.
Yeah.
And that's what we tend to do. We forget to put our oxygen masks on, and we lose who we are.
So in terms of transition, is your interest women who are in transition careers, or transition in life? What does transition mean?
For me, it's very broad.
Right.
It's all of those. It's in life, it's in career, and in fact, they join together. Generally, what happens is someone will come to see me because their job maybe has changed. They've lost a job. And they don't really know what they want to do anymore, or they can't go back into what they wanted to do. So it becomes some personal life coaching, but then from there we take that personal part where they've finally figured out what they want to do, and we create that, and it becomes a business. So it's both.
So when somebody loses their job and they come to you and they don't know what they want to do next, but there's pressure because there's bills. I mean, maybe somebody is in a place where they don't have to worry about getting another job, or at least for some period of time. But let's just say that person that has lost their job, the pressure's on, they've got to make some money. Maybe they don't know what they want to do next. What do they do?
So I would say to them, go out and find any kind of job for now. Go work at Tim Hortons if you have to do that. And work with a life coach, because that's, even if you work with somebody like me for 3 months, I can absolutely guarantee that's going to create a shift. But don't put yourself in a position where you're going to be far too stressed about where that money is going to come from. You can't do that. It's just too stressful. So get the job, take whatever job, and then we'll work together to find the passion.
Because passion and the answers don't necessarily come on demand, do they?
Oh no, not at all.
No.
No.
You know, is it true that sometimes we have to go through a life experience before we get our answers? That we might be able to, like, if we know we want to make a switch, say we want to change jobs, we want to change careers, or maybe live in a different city, but we don't know exactly where. You know, do we need to have maybe a life experience before we get our answers? Or is it almost as if there's a piece of puzzle that has to come into play before we get a bigger idea of a bigger piece of the puzzle?
I think, yes, that's true. I also think that we know that when we're children. And we unlearn it. We are taught to not allow that to be part of who we are anymore. So it gets buried very, very deep. And when I do the coaching I do, if somebody really doesn't know what they're doing, I go back to tell me your best day ever in your whole life. And we take it from there.
So is it that childlike essence that's still us?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you go back there.
Yeah. Yeah. By the age of 7, children are programmed to take away the joy. And
that's when we're taught to conform in society.
Absolutely.
Studies have shown that.
Yeah. 7 is the defining age.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the creativity, our ability, there was a study that came out some years ago, and I write about this actually in my book, The Whispering Heart, Your Inner Guide to Creativity. There was a study that came out that showed at about the age of 7, which is about grade 1, when we're conforming, children lose the ability to actually have an original idea.
That's right.
So
when I was a little girl, I learned in grade 1 to color inside the lines. And I got into an awful lot of trouble because I chose to color outside of the lines. You know, it's that fitting into the box. I wanted to color outside the lines. And it didn't matter that I wanted to color outside the lines. I wasn't allowed to.
Now, your journey has been very interesting because something happened to you at the age of 40. You were diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And this is something diagnosed that you'd lived with for a number of years. You took medication, changed your life. But 7 years later, the medical team realized it was a misdiagnosis. For 7 years, you thought you were living with Parkinson's disease. What was that like for you?
It was very life-changing for me. I had a very successful relocation business at the time of the diagnosis, and we were well over $1 million a year. My partners did not want me to be in the business anymore, so I had to give that up. That was really, really hard for me. Then I had to learn how to be somebody with a chronic illness, because that's a whole other way to live. I became an advocate for people with Parkinson's, and that's actually how I found out that I did not have it in the 7th year.
When you became an advocate?
Yeah, because I got an opportunity to see somebody else. Nobody else would give me another diagnosis. I was actually diagnosed by the top neurologist in Canada, so nobody else would agree to see me after that. I became an advocate, and at one of the conferences that we held, I asked somebody who was starting up another mobility clinic if he would allow me to go see him, and he was the one who said, "You've never had this." So it was very life-changing. It taught me how to speak my mind. It taught me how to be. It really connected me to my family. I lost a lot of friends, but they weren't my friends to begin with, and I didn't know that.
That's the gift that you got.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, what about, now this has sort of launched you into a whole new career too.
I got stuck because
Right.
I knew, now I'm 47, what am I supposed to do with myself? I was that woman in transition, and that's why I'm very passionate about this. I was her, and I didn't know what to do with myself. So friends said to me, "You should see this guy, he's a life coach. He's based here, his name is Sammy Chong. He's fabulous." And I saw Sammy for about a year, and it absolutely shifted the whole way I do everything in my life. I loved it so much, I said, "That's it, I'm doing this. This is what I want to do."
So you launched your career as a life coach?
Yeah, went to school for 2 years, got my certification, and that was it. Haven't looked back.
What is the role of a life coach?
We are not therapists, we are not counselors, we are not mentors. We are people who teach you to be accountable for yourself.
Right.
So we're not your best friend. We're truthful and we're honest, and we don't listen to the story. We listen to what it is you really want, and we help you get there.
So is it about asking questions? I mean, is a life coach skilled in asking the
Very
right
much
questions?
so, absolutely.
Right.
But it's also about not asking questions, and it's also about listening on a very, very deep level. People don't get acknowledged very often anymore, and a life coach acknowledges that. What did I just hear? What did I just notice? I do all my work over the phone, and when there's a silence, what just happened there? What's going on? And you notice the tone in the voice. You notice the shift. I can tell when a person is smiling on the phone. because their voice changes. What just made you smile?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard it said that the answers, we all have the answers deep within us. Do you think that's true?
I do.
Is it just asking the right question for that answer to come, to allow the answer to come up?
Yeah, and I think that's what a life coach does. It brings you permission to bring out that truth that has always been there, that has been buried for such a long time, and you get to speak it.
So why does our truth get buried? I mean, is it society? I mean, what's going on there?
It's that conforming piece.
Right.
It's the should.
Right.
Yes.
And on that note, we're going to take a break, and I know that Janet, it's my Good to Know Minute, and I know that you have a great tip for the viewers, so jump right in.
My success tip is drop the word should in your life. I should do this, I should do that, I should go here, I should go there, I should be making more money, I should be making less money. Drop it. Drop it. It doesn't serve you, and that's a value from somebody else that is placed on you.
Well, thank you so much, Janet.
My pleasure.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, more with Janet Auty-Carlisle, life coach, who's dedicated to helping women in transition. So stay right there. Welcome back to the show. I am Shannon Skinner, and I'm speaking with Janet Auty-Carlisle, who's a life coach dedicated to helping women in transition. And Janet, you also have a group on Zoomer magazine on the website. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's called Women in Transition,
right.
in Zoomer Mag on their online.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's we're a small group, pretty mighty. We're very vocal. We're very political. It's fun. I started it a few months ago because they didn't have anything like that, and I really started noticing that it was kind of needed. So yeah, I thought I'll start it.
So how do people find it? How do they find you?
Well, I tweet about it a lot, but Zoomers, if they go into the Zoomers website, they can just key in the words Women in Transition and my site comes up.
Choice. Choice is something that's important in our lives. I mean, what does choice have, what role does choice come to play?
Choice is everything. And choice is how you live your life. And this is a very difficult thing for people to hear. I am a person who has spent my childhood in an abusive relationship. I was a child of sexual abuse. I lived for a long time as a person who thought that that's who I was. That was my choice. I didn't choose what happened to me, but for the rest of the time that I was growing up, I chose how I was going to live, believing that that was my truth.
So you mean you chose that you were a victim? Is this it? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And there came a point in my life where I thought, that's not true though. That's my choice to believe that to be true. And I shifted. And when I shifted, everything changed for me because it was a choice. And that's for everybody, no matter what you are doing. Particularly if you live in North America, everything you do is your own choice.
You were when we were chatting earlier, you were telling me that a friend of yours made a choice, a bad choice, to go back into a marriage. And she was murdered by her husband. And this is something else that has really impacted your life too, and what you're doing.
Yeah, I actually knew her from an organization we both were involved in as volunteers. It was a women's shelter in Mississauga. And we also sat together on an assault team and a trauma team.
Right.
So she knew. She knew.
So she was in an abusive relationship. She had left. She went back into it.
Yeah.
Wrong. Bad choice.
Bad choice.
Yeah. But
I
she
was
knew
with
better.
her. Yeah. I was with her the night before. I was with her and him the night before. And it was just scary. And I really worked very hard to try to communicate to her my concerns. But she was so deep in. She just stayed.
So is it about finding power within ourselves to make better choices for ourselves, or a good choice or the right choice? Is it about finding that power deep down?
It's about empowering yourself, but it's about believing that you have the ability to do that.
Right.
And maybe you're going to make a mistake, but it's better to make a mistake and try than to stay and think that you're going to be safe. That's not going to work.
Now, transition, as we talked earlier on before the break, we're talking about the importance of transition for you working with women transition. But what do women at the age 45 and up is about the women that you work with considered the Zoomers?
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
Considered the Zoomers.
Yeah.
But they experience, as you mentioned to me, discrimination. And there's a lot of issues that women, as we get older, we're facing in the workplace. I mean, what is going on?
It's ageism. Truly, it is ageism. I'm an adjudicator for the employment insurance appeal process.
Right.
So when somebody gets turned down for employment insurance, it's their right to appeal it. We see an awful lot of women who are 45 who say that they lost their jobs because of their age. Can't be proved, but it's the truth. And in Canada, it's really a big problem. It's a big problem. We become too expensive.
Wow, you know, you wouldn't think that in Canada we would. It sounds like it's sort of living in the dark ages a little bit, don't you think?
Little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah. I truly. Marcy Berg earlier talking about Gloria Steinem and the movements, and you know, we've moved forward. We've stepped sideways. We've stepped back. We're moving a little forward. It's becoming obvious now, though, which is good.
Now, one of your missions is to help millions make millions.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's my movement. It's my movement. It's I'm devoted to helping 1 million women make $1 million. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not a overnight thing. And I picked 1 million women because that's just a really cool number. And I picked $1 million because why not? We may not reach 1 million, but that's okay. It's the empowerment part. Women are community oriented. If you teach one woman the basics on how to be financially literate, how to be empowered financially, everybody's going to benefit. Her entire family.
Educated women, she educates her
village.
Her village.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. So I teach them how to start, find the passion, do the thing you loved when you were a little kid, make it your business. That way it won't feel like work, and it doesn't matter what it was you loved to do as a kid, it can be a business.
How do we get over the fear? Because there's usually a lot of fear. I'm too afraid little voice comes up.
Well, in coaching world, we call that little guy the saboteur, and that's a lot of work that we do.
Yeah.
We work on that.
Yeah.
We work on what the saboteur is, what he says, whether it's important. It's ego, right? It's your ego. And you're listening to your ego, you're not listening to your authentic self.
So is that ego then about keeping, it's a survival mechanism, is it not? So it's actually a good thing to have, to an extent.
Well, you know what? Ego to me is more about the should again.
Right.
I should be a certain way because that's how you've been conditioned.
Yeah.
That's what it is to me. So I don't know that it's something we have to carry around.
Now, something we mentioned earlier was that women. Women are. In fact, I think I got these stats from you. 53% of the population are women, and only 1% of the wealth globally. So that means 99% of the money is owned by men.
Yeah, isn't that awful?
Owned, run, controlled.
Isn't that awful? Yeah, in the whole world, we own 1% of the wealth. That's awful. Yeah, which is why I'm very passionate about what I do. That has to shift.
Now, you have a contest that is an original contest.
Yeah.
You're giving away money.
I am. I'm giving away $10,000.
How does it work?
It's 55 women.
Right.
I'm only letting 55 women join. They have to take 3 months of coaching, so cost them $3,000. One of those 55 women is going to win $10,000. A trip to Toronto if they live, because I coach around the world. So I will fly them to Toronto. I will fly them back home again. They will have a day up at Scandinave Spa with me, which is up in Blue Mountain Resort.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Great.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a good investment. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Yeah.
Well, geez, I think it sounds like a really good deal to me.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
How do people find out about it?
Go to my website, tobeyourbest.net. Just register.
Tobeyourbest.net. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Yeah.
Register online you'll receive my email. At that point, you'll be eligible to get a free download of my book, Life Coaching 101. And if you start coaching, then you're entered automatically. But all of the details are on my website.
Now, thanks for that, Janet. And I have one last question for you. How would you define success?
I thought about that a lot when I was asked that question. It's the ability to live my life the way I want to live it, with community, authenticity, truth, and integrity.
Sounds good to me. Well, Janet, I've really enjoyed this time with you, and thanks for coming in all the way from Collingwood this morning.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
For more information about upcoming shows, you can contact me through my website at extraordinarywomentv.com. Right there on my website, I'll have more information about upcoming guests, past episodes, information about me and how you can contact me. And a special thanks to a few people, Stu Skinner, and a very, very special thanks to my parents, Leigh and Darlene Skinner, for all of your love and support. So thank you. And also to Aaron, who's behind the scenes helping here today. So thank you, everyone. Well, if you're interested in transforming your life, I hope these stories have inspired you. You've been watching Extraordinary Women TV. I'm Shannon Skinner. See you soon.